got my girlfriend hired at our company, but later she filed a false abuse report against me to take my role. But when I confronted her, she said, "It's not personal, I just want the job more than you do." I stayed silent. Now she's locked out and under investigation. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey there, Reddit! Just your average corporate drone with a totally normal story about workplace romance. You know, the kind where you help your girlfriend get a job at your company and she tries to get you fired. Just another day in paradise, am I right? But seriously, 32 male, need to get this off my chest because the last few months have been absolutely wild, and I'm still processing everything that happened. I'm in my early 30s, been grinding at this corporate office in Chicago for about 4 years now. Started as just another finance analyst, but worked my way up to become a senior finance manager with my own team. The job's pretty sweet, good money, decent benefits, and I actually didn't hate showing up every day. Weird concept, right? About a year back, I met this girl, I'll call her Amy, at my buddy's housewarming. She was gorgeous, smart, also in finance but at some struggling startup downtown. We clicked instantly, talking about spreadsheets and market analysis. I know, we're boring, and within a few months, she moved into my place. Everything seemed perfect. Our relationship moved fast but felt right. We had similar interests, compatible work schedules, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. I thought I'd finally found the one after years of mediocre dating experiences. She'd meet my parents for Sunday dinners. I'd hang out with her friends on weekends. The whole package. Then her company went under. They fired her with zero warning. Just a random Friday Zoom call like, "Thanks for your service, bye." She was completely blindsided. For weeks, she'd spend all day filling out applications, getting rejected over and over. The job market was absolute trash, with hundreds of people fighting for positions that used to get like 20 applicants. Watching her spiral was rough. I'd catch her crying when she thought I wasn't looking. She started sleeping till noon, barely eating. I felt useless just watching this happen. She'd been so confident and driven when we met, and seeing that light dim in her eyes was heartbreaking. Then this junior financial analyst position opened up at my company. Different department, not directly under me, but still part of the corporate finance division. I hesitated because mixing work and relationships can get messy, but she was getting desperate and I knew she had the skills. So I hit up my friend Sarah, who was doing the hiring in HR, and put in a good word. Made it clear Amy should get judged on her own skills. But yeah, my recommendation definitely got her foot in the door. She killed the interview and got the job 2 weeks later. I was pumped for her, and everything seemed perfect at first. We'd drive to work together, grab lunch when we could. She was super professional at work too. No PDA, no special treatment requests. If anything, she worked harder than everyone to prove she belonged there regardless of dating me. Little did I know I was letting a snake into the garden. About 2 months after Amy started at my company, weird stuff started happening. She began staying late at the office every night, saying she wanted to impress the CFO. Then she started getting invited to meetings with upper management. Really suspicious for a junior analyst. But I was like, good for her, networking and such. She got super interested in my projects too, asking tons of questions about financial models and reporting structures way beyond what her role needed to know. I thought she was just eager to learn. Silly me thought it was cute, but things started feeling not that cute. She'd come home buzzing about conversations I knew she wasn't supposed to be privy to. She'd name-drop directors like they were old buddies, casually mention future strategies our department hadn't even rolled out yet. Once or twice, she accidentally opened my laptop when I left it on the kitchen counter, claiming she thought it was hers. And when I'd ask harmless questions about her day, she'd either go vague or overly detailed, like she was rehearsing. I started getting this weird gut feeling, like she was playing a different game entirely, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Then last Monday, I got called into a meeting with HR and our department VP. My stomach dropped when I saw their faces. Nobody gets same-day HR meetings unless something's wrong. I walked into that room and instantly knew something was off. The HR manager wouldn't meet my eyes, and our department VP had that tight-lipped expression people get right before delivering bad news or firing someone. The air felt thick, like it was judging me too. "Jake," HR started, voice all measured and clinical. "A formal complaint has been filed against you." Everything slowed down. "Allegations of harassment," she continued. Claims that you used your managerial position to pressure a subordinate into a relationship and created a hostile work environment. I just sat there, frozen. What? I actually laughed for half a second. Not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't process how insane it was. I've been nothing but professional. I avoid even talking to my team outside of work hours unless it's absolutely necessary. I've turned down every invite to after-work drinks just to keep boundaries clear. When I asked for specifics about who filed it, they were like, can't share details during an investigation, but I was being temporarily reassigned to work remotely on some pointless project while they sorted things out. I packed up my stuff feeling like every eye in the office was on me. 4 years of building my reputation, potentially trashed by accusations I couldn't even defend against. On the train ride home, I couldn't stop thinking, who would do this to me and why? I ran through the mental list of coworkers. Jason from budgeting, he's still salty I got promoted over him. Rachel from procurement, we had one heated meeting 6 months ago, but nothing remotely inappropriate. Maybe someone from the new hire batch, but I barely interact with them. It didn't add up. By the time I got back to the apartment, I was exhausted and paranoid. My brain felt like it was stuck refreshing the same corrupted page over and over. Then Amy walked in. She was practically glowing, dropped her bag by the door, and launched into some breathless monologue about being invited into a closed-door CFO strategy session. Said they were blown away by her insights. I nodded, trying to hear her, but I wasn't listening anymore. Something shifted. The timing, the access, the sudden fast-track visibility. Then it clicked. The way she's been acting weird lately. How she'd stopped talking the second I walked into a room. How she started locking her phone when she used to leave it face up, open. How she'd ask about projects I never mentioned to her. Projects only senior leadership would know about. There was this fake casualness to her questions too, like she was trying too hard not to sound too interested. But I didn't accuse her. I needed to see how she'd respond. I leaned back on the couch, arms crossed. Weird day at work, I said flatly. She barely paused. Oh yeah? Yeah, got pulled into HR. Apparently someone thinks I'm a little too friendly with the ladies. She froze mid-step, just for a second. Barely noticeable unless you were looking. But I was. Oh, wow, she said slowly, blinking like she was trying to find the right expression. That's intense. Any idea who'd say something like that? I shrugged. No clue. Just seems odd, you know. I've been here 4 years. No issues. Then a new hire joins. Suddenly, I'm enemy number one. Amy shifted her weight, trying to act casual. Well, maybe someone misunderstood something? People can be sensitive. Maybe, I said, eyes locked on hers. Or maybe someone's trying to get ahead in the company. Seems like a pretty bold move to take someone out of the way if they think it'll open doors. Her smile flickered, just for a moment. Jake, that's paranoid. Is it? I asked, voice calm but sharper now. Because it's funny timing. I'm pulled from all major projects the same week you're suddenly sitting in with execs. Kinda wild for a junior analyst. She laughed nervously. So now you're accusing me of… what? Stabbing you in the back? I leaned forward. Not accusing. Just wondering how someone could rise that fast. Unless they knew exactly what buttons to push. And who to target. The silence stretched between us. Her face dropped. The mask slipped. And in that second, I knew. The little smirk disappeared. Her posture stiffened, like she'd been holding up a front for too long, and finally dropped the act. She looked at me, really looked, and for the first time didn't bother pretending. She exhaled through her nose, slow and sharp. You know what? She said, voice flat. It doesn't even matter anymore. It's done. I blinked. That's it? Just, it's done? You're not stupid, Jake. You already know why. My jaw clenched. I got you that job. I went out on a limb for you. You think HR would have even glanced at your resume without my name on it? She tilted her head, like she was trying to decide if honesty was worth it. Then she shrugged. I appreciate the foot in the door. I do. But let's not pretend that was ever going to be enough. I was never going to move up from a junior seat. Not fast enough. She didn't even sound angry, just matter of fact, like she was explaining the weather. I scoffed. So what? Your solution was to nuke my career and just slide into my place? Not from the beginning, she said, and I could tell this was the most honest she'd been. But once I saw how things worked there, the management structure, how decisions were made, I realized I'd never move up fast enough the conventional way. I stared at her, stunned by the bluntness. We were supposed to be a team. We lived together. She looked at me with this weird pity. Jake, we wanted different things. You were content with your position, your steady progress. I need more, faster. And honestly, she hesitated, then continued with brutal honesty. The passion wasn't there anymore. Hasn't been for months. That hit me like a truck. Not just that she'd screw me over professionally, but that our whole relationship apparently meant nothing to her. And you thought filing false claims was easier than just breaking up with me? She didn't say anything. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low but deliberate. You do realize what you've done isn't just petty. It's career-ending for you. False accusations? That's not a gray area. That's a legal landmine. And if you think I'm just gonna roll over and let you twist everything, you've underestimated me. She didn't flinch, just smiled faintly like she was bored of the conversation. Breaking up wouldn't have exactly helped my situation, she said, tone light but with an edge. But don't worry, I covered my bases. Every late-night message, every time you emailed me about work, taken out of context, it paints a very compelling picture. And let's be honest, HR doesn't dig for truth. They react to headlines. By the time they figure out what's real, I'll already be where I need to be. I didn't yell, I didn't throw stuff, I just looked at her and said, "Pack your things. You have until tomorrow evening to find somewhere else to stay." She crossed her arms. "I live here too. You said I could move in. This isn't just your call." I didn't flinch. "This was my apartment before you ever unpacked a single box. You're on the lease for convenience, not because you built any of this." Her face tightened, but she didn't argue. She knew I was right. "We're done, Amy. Completely done," I said, stepping back like she physically disgusted me. "You're overreacting," she muttered, but her voice had none of its usual confidence. She knew she'd crossed a line even she couldn't charm her way back over. I stared at her fuming. "Fine. I'll get my essential stuff tonight and come back for the rest later." She grabbed some clothes and toiletries while acting like I was being unreasonable. Before she left, she turned to me one last time. "You know, this wouldn't have been necessary if you just helped me advance normally. You could have recommended me for management positions, put my name forward for projects, but you were always so concerned about conflict of interest and earning your way. Some of us don't have the luxury of waiting years to be recognized." With that parting shot, she was gone, and I stood in our suddenly empty apartment trying to process how the girl I thought I knew could be so calculated. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about every conversation we'd had about work, every document she might have seen on my laptop, every financial model where I'd explained proprietary methodologies to her. Then I remembered something crucial that gave me a tiny bit of hope. I'm obsessive about documentation and communication. I keep records of everything, partly because it's good practice in finance, audit trails, you know, partly because I've always been detail-oriented to a fault. I have logs, emails, recorded meetings with consent notice, and detailed notes from every important work interaction. The next morning, instead of fighting the investigation or trying to plead my case too early, I sent HR a simple email. "I understand you need to investigate these claims thoroughly. I am fully cooperating and have complete confidence the truth will emerge. Please let me know if you need any additional information from me." Then I started pulling together my evidence. I created a timeline of every interaction I'd had with Amy at work, all in public spaces or group settings. I found witnesses who could back up our professional behavior. I collected text messages showing our relationship started way before she joined the company and proving we were already living together when she was hired. I had dozens of photos of us together at events, trips, and family gatherings, establishing a clear timeline that contradicted her claims. Most importantly, I dug up the digital trail. Remember those financial discussions where I'd explained models to her? They weren't casual pillow talk. They were recorded department meetings she'd asked to join to learn more about the overall financial strategy. Her questions weren't innocent curiosity. They were targeted information gathering, evidenced by her notes that someone from her team had shared with me months ago, thinking I'd be proud of her initiative. I also found emails where she'd specifically asked me for work advice, time-stamped from evenings or weekends. Clear evidence that I wasn't forcing work discussions on her. She had initiated many of these conversations herself. I didn't just stop there, though. I also found something else. Something I didn't immediately share with HR. When we'd moved in together, we'd set up a shared cloud account for photos and stuff. She apparently forgot to disconnect her phone from it. In that cloud, I found screenshots she'd taken of confidential company documents she shouldn't have had access to, including salary information for management positions, including mine, and quarterly financial forecasts that hadn't been made public yet. This wasn't just a misuse of authority case anymore. This was corporate espionage level stuff. I didn't confront her again. I didn't rant on social media or try to rally colleagues against her. I simply provided HR with the organized, factual information about the allegations and let the investigation run its course. I kept the other evidence as my ace in the hole. Meanwhile, I focused on the temporary project I'd been assigned, determined to show my value to the company regardless of the circumstances. For 2 weeks, I heard nothing concrete. Amy had moved most of her things out while I was working from a coffee shop. From occasional texts with coworkers, I heard rumors that she'd been joining leadership meetings and presenting financial analysis suspiciously similar to ones I'd discussed in our department sessions. Then, yesterday afternoon, I got a call from the VP and head of HR asking me to come in for a meeting this morning at 8. They wouldn't give details over the phone, but there was a different tone to their voices, less stern, more apologetic. I arrived early, professionally dressed, calm despite my racing heart. The meeting was brief but decisive. Their investigation found no evidence supporting the false claims. In fact, they'd uncovered substantial evidence that the complaint was filed maliciously with intent to manipulate staffing for personal gain. "We owe you an apology," the VP said, looking genuinely sorry. "We had to take the allegations seriously, but we should have handled it better." My position was reinstated, effective immediately, with appropriate compensation for the disruption. HR explained that they couldn't share specific actions taken against the employee who filed the false report, still maintaining confidentiality, though we all knew who they meant, but assured me that company policy on false accusations was being strictly enforced. I thanked them, accepted their apology, and handed them a sealed envelope. "What's this?" the VP asked. "Additional information I discovered during my own investigation. It's not related to the harassment claim, but I believe it represents a significant security breach." They opened it right there. The evidence of Amy accessing confidential company information she had no right to see. The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The VP's face went from apologetic to stone cold. He picked up the phone and made a quick call, then turned back to me. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll handle it immediately." Within 30 minutes of leaving that meeting, all hell broke loose. When I got back to my desk, my real desk with my team nearby, a company-wide email arrived announcing some organizational changes. My name was there, officially reinstated as Senior Finance Manager, along with a new initiative I'd be heading. Amy's name was nowhere to be found. Then my phone exploded. First, a text from Amy. "What did you do?" Then another. "My badge isn't working." Then calls, one after another, growing increasingly frantic. By midday, I'd received dozens of missed calls from her. Dozens of texts ranging from confused to angry to pleading. I didn't respond to a single one. From what I heard through the office grapevine, that morning Amy had arrived to find security waiting for her at the entrance. They escorted her directly to a conference room where HR and legal were waiting. When she tried to use her laptop, she found it locked. They confronted her not just about the false claim, but about the confidential information she'd accessed and copied. Apparently, IT had gone through her work account and found even more evidence. She'd been emailing company secrets to her personal account for weeks. This wasn't just a termination anymore. This was potentially criminal. They confiscated her company phone and laptop on the spot. When she tried to leave with her personal phone, they informed her that since she'd used it to capture confidential information, they needed to inspect it as well. She refused, which only made things worse. Security escorted her out as she screamed and demanded to speak to the CFO, insisting there had been a misunderstanding. According to the receptionist, she was still standing outside the building 2 hours later, alternating between calling me and trying to get other employees to let her in as they passed. The strangest part? I didn't feel the satisfaction I expected. Mostly I felt tired and sad that someone I trusted could be so calculating. But I also felt a cold resolve. She tried to destroy my career without a second thought. Actions have consequences. I blocked her number and stayed with a friend for a few days in case she showed up at my apartment. The locks were already changed. Turns out I can play the game too when necessary. A week after everything went down, things got even more intense. After I blocked her number, she completely lost it. Started popping up everywhere. Emails from random new addresses, texts relayed through mutual friends, even a handwritten letter shoved under my friend's apartment door. Still no idea how she even found that place, which honestly freaked me out more than I expected. Her messages were all over the place. First, she was accusing me of setting her up. Then she switched gears, acting like it was just some tiny lie that spiraled out of control. After that came the pity, how I'd ruined her life and destroyed her future. And of course, the begging followed. Classic please just talk to me lines. Like there was anything left to explain. I ignored every single one. But the most bizarre development came 3 days ago when she somehow got my mom's phone number and called her sobbing about how I had misunderstood the situation and claiming we were actually engaged but having a fight. Here's where things get extra messy. My mom actually believed her. So did my sister. They've been blowing up my phone saying I need to hear her side and that relationships take work and other nonsense. When I explained what really happened, they said I was being dramatic and that she just made a mistake. Yeah, a mistake. Like accidentally putting salt in your coffee, not trying to destroy someone's entire career. Even my dad, who's usually solid, told me I should be the bigger person and at least talk to her. None of them get it. None of them understand what it feels like to have someone you trusted try to burn your life down for their own benefit. Now, regarding the work situation, the company technically cleared my name. But let's be real. When someone gets accused of harassment, that stink doesn't just wash off. Yeah, they said all the right things in the meetings. We believe you, Jake. We know you didn't do anything wrong. But I saw the looks in the hallway, the way conversation stopped when I walked into the break room, the forced smiles from people who used to genuinely laugh at my jokes. My reputation was shattered at that place. The day after my reinstatement, I grabbed coffee from the break room and 3 people suddenly remembered urgent meetings they needed to attend. By lunchtime, I was eating alone at my desk, scrolling through my phone while pretending I preferred it that way. My team members were polite but distant, like I was radioactive. Only my direct reports still acted normal, and I suspect that was only because they were afraid of getting on my bad side. Nothing says welcome back like being treated like a leper with authority. After about a week of this delightful awkwardness, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my VP, Mark. I caught him in his office late one evening, figuring a private conversation would be better. "How's the transition back going?" he asked, not quite meeting my eyes. "That's actually what I wanted to talk about," I said. "I'm sensing some discomfort from the team." Mark sighed, finally looking at me. "Jake, I'll be straight with you. Your reputation here is complicated now. Maybe a fresh start would be best for everyone." Translation: we don't want to fire you and risk a lawsuit, but we'd really appreciate it if you'd just disappear. But I was cleared, I pointed out, trying to keep the desperation from my voice. "Everyone knows she lied. Knowing and believing are different things," he said with practiced corporate wisdom. "And perception becomes reality in environments like this. We can't force people to feel comfortable." So there I was, cleared of all wrongdoing and effectively unemployable at the company I'd given 4 years of my life to. I started sending out resumes that night. I mean, how hard could it be to find a new finance job, right? I only had glowing performance reviews and, oh wait, a fresh harassment allegation that HR legally couldn't confirm or deny to anyone who called for a reference check. Super helpful. My first week of job hunting was optimistic. I had a solid resume, good experience, and surely other companies would judge me on my merits rather than office gossip, right? I applied to 15 positions that first weekend, customizing each cover letter with the careful attention of someone whose entire financial future depended on it. The first interview I landed was with a mid-sized financial services firm downtown. The initial phone screening went great. My qualifications matched their needs perfectly, and the recruiter sounded genuinely excited about bringing me in. The in-person interview started well too. The hiring manager seemed impressed with my project experience and technical knowledge. Then came the dreaded question, "So why are you looking to leave your current position?" I had practiced this. "I'm seeking new challenges and opportunities for growth," I said with a rehearsed smile. "While I've learned a lot at my current company, I feel I've reached the ceiling of what I can accomplish there." The manager's expression shifted subtly. "I see. And there are no other factors influencing your decision to leave?" Apparently, I'm a terrible liar because her entire demeanor changed. The rest of the interview felt like a formality, her questions becoming shorter, less engaged. I didn't get a call back. The second interview was at a larger firm. This time, I tried being vague about my reasons for leaving, focusing instead on what attracted me to their company. Same result, cordial rejection email 3 days later. Third interview was the worst. The interviewer, a guy named Trevor with a power tie and excessive cologne, seemed to know something before I even sat down. Halfway through, he just went for it. "Look, I have to ask, are there any incidents at your previous workplace that you need to disclose? Any conflicts or issues with colleagues that might be relevant?" My stomach dropped. "No, nothing significant." I lied again, worse this time. "Because we pride ourselves on maintaining a respectful work environment," he continued, watching me squirm. "And we do thorough background checks." It turned out one of Amy's college friends worked in their HR department and had already spread her version of events. Awesome. Small world. Infinite capacity for gossip. By week 3 of unemployment, my savings were dwindling faster than I'd anticipated. I'd always been good with money, but I hadn't planned for suddenly jobless due to psychopathic girlfriend. The lease on our, now my apartment was up for renewal, and the landlord wanted to increase the rent by 15%. With no steady income, I couldn't justify it. I moved from my friend Tyler's couch to the cheapest studio apartment I could find, which was apparently built directly above the world's loudest bar and below someone who I'm pretty sure was training elephants to river dance at 3 a.m. every night. The walls were so thin I could hear my neighbors breathing, and the water pressure was a cruel joke, like someone gently spitting on you from above. My new home came furnished with a mattress that remembered the shape of its previous owner a little too well, a coffee table with only 3 legs, the fourth substituted by a stack of phone books, and a refrigerator that made sounds like it was plotting revolution. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. And at $850 a month, I was definitely begging. Meanwhile, back at my former company, the legal team was still building their case against Amy. I kept in touch with my old colleague Kevin, who fed me updates over beers he now insisted on paying for. They found that she'd been forwarding herself confidential emails from budget discussions she wasn't supposed to have access to. Dozens of them, methodically organized in folders on her personal drive. She'd been going around to senior managers asking innocent questions about upcoming projects and strategic decisions, then presenting their insights as her own in meetings with leadership. Classic corporate parasite behavior, but executed with impressive precision. Most damning of all, they found draft emails in her company account where she had practiced her entire misconduct story, refining the details to make them believable. Different versions, A/B testing which accusations would seem most plausible. She looked up all the protocols for filing workplace grievances, like she was prepping for a case, and saved links to articles about how to document workplace hostility. Genius forgot that drafts are stored on company servers, and IT monitors research patterns for security purposes. Oh, and here's the cherry on top of this disaster Sunday. In the confidential information she'd stolen were details about an upcoming merger. The company was planning to acquire this smaller firm with valuable client portfolios that would have given them a huge market advantage. The legal team found evidence that Amy had been researching this company extensively and had even reached out to one of their accountants on LinkedIn. As a result, the company was pursuing legal action against her. Restraining order, civil suit, the works. They were even considering criminal charges for corporate espionage. That felt like a hollow victory while I was eating ramen for the 5th night in a row. But hey, at least someone was having a worse time than me, right? By month 2 of my job search, desperation was setting in. I had expanded my search to include positions I was overqualified for, locations I'd never considered, and even adjacent industries where my skills might transfer. My unemployment benefits covered about 60% of my previous salary, which meant I was slowly but steadily eating through my emergency fund. Interviews 4, 5, and 6 all ended the same way. Initial interest followed by mysterious cooling. I started wondering if Amy was actively sabotaging me, reaching out to companies where I applied. Paranoid? Maybe. But after what she'd done, nothing seemed beyond possibility. Interview number 7 was at a smaller firm across town, one that managed investments for mid-level clients. Nothing prestigious, but stable. After going through my qualifications, the hiring manager leaned back and sighed. Look, Jake, your skills are great. You're clearly qualified. But I heard some rumors about why you left your last position. Why don't you just tell me your side? Off the record. I was tired of dancing around it. Tired of pretending. So I did something unconventional. I told him the truth. All of it. And I didn't just tell him. I showed him. I had brought my evidence binder with me. Screenshots, emails, timeline, witness statements, everything I'd gathered to clear my name. It had become a security blanket of sorts, proof that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined the whole thing. By the end of my story, he was nodding slowly, eyes wide. That's intense, he said. But honestly, it explains why you're so prepared for this interview. Most people don't bring a binder of evidence. He chuckled. You know what? I appreciate someone who documents everything. That's exactly what we need in financial analysis. So I got the job. The pay was about 30% less than what I was making before, and the title was a demotion back to senior analyst. But it was a lifeline. I took it without negotiating, pathetically grateful for the opportunity. Slowly, day by day, I started rebuilding my professional identity from scratch. I volunteered for the tedious projects nobody wanted. I stayed late to fix spreadsheet errors I hadn't made. I brought donuts on Fridays. I became the office tech support by default, since I knew how to clear the print queue without rebooting the server. The worst part through all this was feeling isolated from my family. My mom and sister were still taking Amy's side, saying I was being vindictive by not stopping the legal action. I tried explaining that it's out of my hands now. The company is protecting its interests. They didn't get it and stopped talking to me. except for terse text messages on holidays. You always hold grudges, my sister texted. Amy made a mistake, but she's really struggling now. A mistake, like accidentally putting salt in your coffee, not trying to destroy someone's entire career, and stealing corporate secrets. Right. My mom was worse, somehow convinced that Amy was the one, and I was throwing away my chance at happiness. She called me crying, she told me during our last conversation. She said she just wanted to prove herself at work and things got out of hand. People deserve second chances. The fact that my own mother could hear Amy's sob story and immediately believe it over her own son's experience was a special kind of betrayal. I stopped trying to explain after that. My dad, at least, called regularly to check in. How's the new place? He'd ask, pretending not to notice the echo in my empty apartment or the sounds of drunken karaoke floating up through my floor. It's great, I'd lie. So much character. And the new job? Challenging in all the right ways, I'd say, which wasn't entirely false. Trying to implement modern financial analysis with outdated software was certainly challenging. He'd grunt, seeing through me but not pushing it. You'll land on your feet, son. You always do. Several friends who knew us as a couple reached out after hearing about our breakup. Most were supportive after learning what happened, but a few took her side initially, believing I must have done something to provoke such actions. One former friend actually suggested I should have stepped aside gracefully if she wanted the position that badly. I blocked him so fast my phone got whiplash. It's just a job, he'd said, comfortable in his trust fund security. Why ruin a relationship over it? Just a job. Just my career, my reputation, my livelihood. Just the thing I'd spent years building. No big deal. I've started seeing a therapist to work through everything. It's only been 2 sessions, but when I told her about losing my job despite being innocent, she just sighed and said, "Welcome to corporate America. The truth matters less than appearances." Wow, so inspiring and helpful. Worth every penny of my reduced healthcare coverage. She seems more interested in exploring my patterns of attracting manipulative partners than addressing the actual trauma of what happened. When I mentioned Amy's calculated betrayal, she asked, "And what do you think drew you to someone capable of that?" As if I knowingly picked a sociopath from a lineup. The hardest part isn't the professional setback. It's questioning my own judgment. How did I miss the signs? Were there red flags I ignored? Was I just so desperate to be in a relationship that I overlooked the fact that I was dating a sociopath? I keep thinking about what she said that night. I need more. Faster. I wonder if she still thinks it was worth it, now that she's not only lost the position she schemed for, but is potentially facing criminal charges. Meanwhile, I'm working at a job where the biggest decision I get to make is whether to use Arial or Times New Roman on the monthly reports. But hey, at least my new desk chair has lumbar support. Living the dream. Some nights I lie awake listening to the bass thump from the bar below, running through alternate scenarios in my head. What if I'd never recommended her for the job? What if I'd noticed her studying my work materials a little too closely? What if I'd been less trusting, less helpful, less in love? But that's the thing about hindsight. It's always crystal clear when you're staring at the wreckage.